Welcome to Undercurrents of Romance, the show that celebrates every subgenre of romantic fiction. In each episode, I peel back the layers of your favorite love stories and chat with the talented authors who bring them to life. I'm your host, Tracey Devlyn. Now, let's dive in with today's guest. Hello, romantics. I'm here with author Libby Hubscher to talk about her new romantic adventure, Heart Marks the Spot. Welcome to the show, Libby.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk today.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you here. What an amazing title. It's such it fits the perfect, I'm sorry, it fits the story perfectly. How did the title come about? Is that yours or did you work with your publisher? I'm very curious about this one because it's great.
Oh, that is such a good question. And I'm so excited to hear that you like the title because it was a long journey to get
Uh,
to it. I think we tried a lot of different things and just eventually landed on that one. And I will say it was kind of a combination of ideas, I think, between my
yeah.
editor and myself and my agent kind of going back and forth with ideas and finally landing there.
Yeah, that's fun when it's a little bit of it's great when when you hit it out of the park the first time with your manuscript, but if that doesn't
Mhm.
happen, it's kind of fun to have a team to, bounce ideas off of, and they're not telling you to go come up with 10 more ideas and those bomb as
Yeah.
well, and so it gets all embarrassing at that point, right?
There may have been a list of like 50 that I sent at one point.
Oh
There were a lot
gosh.
of iterations, but I think this one was always kind of in the back of everyone's mind. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
that's great. That's great. Well, why don't you, if you don't mind, get us started by telling us a little bit about yourself and your writing journey, what brought you to today.
Okay, wonderful. Well, let's see. It's been a long journey. So I started writing when I was a kid. And then I had a long road. I have another career. So I am actually a medical writer for my day job. I was a toxicologist for a while. And I live in North Carolina with my husband
Ah,
and two kids. And
I'm
so
on the
when I
western
was
side of North Carolina.
Oh, are you? Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
wonderful. So I'm right
yeah.
outside of Raleigh, in Apex. And yeah, so when I had my first child, I was kind of working part-time and I thought like I've always wanted to write fiction. So I felt like maybe now I have the time when they're in preschool to devote to that. So that was a long journey as well. I think I wrote a lot of different books and then finally landed an agent for Meet Me in Paradise, and that was my first book. And then Heart Marks the Spot is my fourth. So, um,
Yeah, well, that's exciting. No, I'm great. Yeah, I'm about an hour from Asheville. I'm a little bit southeast of Asheville. So,
okay.
yeah, I'm not in
Well,
the Piedmont. I'm in the what they call, I guess, the lowlands or the foothills or something like that.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
So,
wonderful. It's always great to meet like other North Carolina writers. So,
I know it is. It's great, isn't it? I wish the state had some kind of, well, it's such a long state. I don't know that that would work out very
I know.
well. But it would be neat to have, and maybe there is, and I just haven't come across it, but some kind of, writer get together once a year or something like
That
that.
would
I
be
think
so
that would be
cool.
so cool. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
great.
that would be great. We should
Well,
make it
as you,
happen.
what's that?
We should make it happen.
I think we should. I definitely think we should. No, that's great. Well, Heart, as you said, this is your fourth novel. And as I mentioned too before we hit the record button, I really enjoyed the novel. Anytime you have kind of a Indiana Jones-ish feel to a book, I am all
Mhm.
in for sure. What can you tell us about Stella and Huck's story? And I always like the author to do it, so I don't give any spoilers away because I've been
I'm
known to do
actually
that.
afraid of giving spoilers myself.
Okay.
Well, so so here's what I can say. I will say I deeply love the show Castle, and also I know like Outer Banks, my family was obsessed with. And I think when I kind of came up with this idea, I was and of course, I've loved Romancing the Stone since I was, like,
Mm,
really young. I
yeah.
felt like, "Oh, that's just such a great vibe," like, the idea of going on this treasure hunt and being searching for something, and I actually feel like it's this really nice metaphor for love if you think about it. I think they always say, like, treasures
Oh,
are
yeah.
are treasures of the heart. So, I was very excited to explore that element, but also to combine kind of that castle vibe, which is, a writer who is following along, like looking for inspiration and maybe like finds romance along the way. So basically, Stella, is our treasure hunter. She's kind of this very driven, hopeless romantic when it comes to treasure, but maybe not so much when it comes to love. I think that does not come easily for her. And then on the other side of things, I think Huck is kind of this, brooding, little bit damaged writer who has terrible writer's block and is searching for inspiration. And they just happen to meet by chance in Iceland. And there's an immediate connection between them. Stella's really into the story and all these things about finding treasure. And I think like Huck sees something in her and they just kind of meet on this adventure and immediately connect, right? But I think, and I always explore this in romance, is like you wonder what happens after, right? So they meet and it's kind of a book in two halves. So the first half is them meeting the first time in which their relationship doesn't work out because it really is at its heart a second chance romance. And
Mm.
then fast forward, a year or so later, and he has this best-selling book featuring a heroine that is very similar to her on an adventure. And he's still finding it very difficult to write without her, even though things didn't work out the first time. So they end up on another journey together, one that's I think really even more important to her, but also super important to their relationship and seeing if they can move on and find that happily ever after as well.
It was great that, like you said, the first portion of it, because she did, their conversation just really ignited something in him. And, it'd been a while since he had been able to put anything on the page. And he immediately wanted to go back and start writing. And so I thought that was really sweet. And then what you just said about him having written this bestseller, but then he kind of dried up again. So I think that's a very sweet thing that that he gets his at least some in part his inspiration from her.
Yeah.
Now I didn't see treasure hunter listed in your bio, so I take it you did a fair bit of research for this
Yeah.
story.
Definitely. Our house is full of like random books about the Atocha. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but the Atocha. My family, actually, my husband and I love Key West, and we used to dive there like when the kids were really little. Not so much looking for treasure, but just, having adventure. But we went to the Mel Fisher Museum, and I watched actually like a series of documentaries about treasure hunters and just read everything that I could find. So certainly like a lot of research involved, but I feel like even then, I can never be certain I've gotten it right. Like it's definitely
Yeah, yeah,
so much
it's
information now about these things. So yeah, lots of research
yeah. And Iceland, the first part of the book takes place in Iceland. Did you get a
though.
chance to go to Iceland and see the Northern Lights, or?
I went, but I was there like in believe it was in August, if I'm thinking back correctly. So we didn't see the Northern Lights while we were there.
Darn.
But we did go. I know. We're planning. We must go back. Fortunately, Raleigh, we have like there's a direct flight, so it's definitely on my bucket list to go back and
Yeah.
see the Northern Lights. But we were able to actually like visit all of the places that are featured in the book. So that was really fun, except for the bar where they meet. That is kind of made up. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like a lot of the food and the different falls they went to and things like that are certainly real places in Iceland. It was a very inspiring place. And I
Yeah.
actually have to confess, I really felt like a deep kinship with Huck when I was writing this book because it was probably the most difficult book I've written. I went through like a really serious period of writer's block with it. So I kind of poured a lot of myself into him and like having these struggles with not feeling inspired or feeling inspired and then suddenly having those conditions or
Yeah.
go away, and trying to recapture that. So
It's really interesting that you say that because, believe it or not, one of my questions to you was, I framed it in how much fun did you have writing about a struggling author? But I did, as an author myself, I really felt his struggle, and so yeah, it's interesting that you did have to pull from your own experience and tough moments of being an author and
yeah.
kind of filling that up with Chuck. Huck. Sorry, Huck. So
Yeah,
interesting.
I wouldn't say there are a lot of the scenes that I wrote that were so fun, and I really had a great time writing them. But his angst is definitely comes from a real place that it was maybe not so fun to pull from.
Well, maybe you got it all out and you won't have that angst anymore.
Yeah.
You got it all out and you put it into Huck for a memorial. That's great.
Yeah.
So one of the things, I actually want, before I get to that question, what I was really surprised about Iceland, because I've never been there and I've never really researched it, so I really don't know anything about it, is that it has a lot of waterfalls. And that's just
Mhm.
not, I don't really know what my mental image of Iceland is, but it definitely wasn't waterfalls. So that was really intriguing.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of an otherworldly place, at least in terms of the terrain, because you go through these like fields of old volcanic formations that are
Mm,
kind of flat and expansive, and then suddenly you'll have like a very steep hill with a waterfall like kind of out of nowhere,
yeah.
which is it's a really incredible place. It's hard to liken it to any other place I've been to, but yeah, the waterfalls were incredible there. I think it was
Yeah.
really fun. And also they're like right off the road. So if you're not a
Oh,
hiker, you can just kind of like walk up to them, which
oh,
is
neat.
really amazing as well.
Yeah, very, very cool. Well, one of the things that I like to dive into on this show is finding the story's undercurrent with the author.
Mm,
And it's what I call the second beating heart of the story that tends to flow beneath the lover's
mhm,
journey.
mhm.
What undercurrent is flowing beneath Stella and Huck's story, do you think?
Mm, such a good question. I think for both of them, there is this undercurrent of having, well, first, I would say it's that they have some really deep unresolved issues with, their relationships with where, you would expect to be loved and accepted and also to have people stick around, and always be there for you. And I think for them, they haven't had that really in the past, maybe in the way that we might hope people, get to experience. The both of them, I think, have some deep-seated issues with their family. And so one of the things is kind of this found family, right? Like how do you surround yourself with people who fill in those gaps for you and
Mm.
you are able to be yourself and be accepted by them and vice versa. So I think that was another theme. And I also think just this sort of like romanticism of like searching for something, like if it's the perfect story or it's the person that makes you feel like you can be yourself and be
Mhm.
accepted and also honored and feel like that person's going to be there for you. I think like both of them kind of search for things, they're looking for inspiration or they're looking for treasure or whatever, but really like I think all humans are just looking for a place where they belong, and
Yeah.
people that they belong with. So I would say that's kind of maybe the main theme.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's oftentimes I've found whenever I ask this question that there can be more than one undercurrent in a story, which I
Mhm.
think is great because that just shows the richness of the story and sometimes complexity and all of that sort of thing. So no, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. So obviously we're talking romance, and our readers tend to like tropes quite a bit. You
Mhm.
mentioned one that's very obvious, which would be the second chance trope. Can you think of any others that fit in here?
I definitely think there is quite a bit of forced proximity in the book. You know, they spend like half of it on a boat together.
Yeah.
So that's another element. There's only one bed is on there. I think they have a bit of like enemies to lovers in that second chance. You know,
Yeah.
things do not end well. So there's definitely having to get past that. Trying to think what else we have. Um, those would maybe be the main ones that come to
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah, I think that those are good, thank you. Have you read a romance novel recently that you loved and would recommend?
Oh, let's think. I've read a bunch, so I'm trying to like narrow it down. Um, Okay, I read and absolutely adored this book, and I think it's so wonderful. It's by Ali Brady, and it is Battle of the Bookstores, I think. I always get confused between bookshop and bookstore, but I believe it's
Uh-huh.
Battle of the Bookstores. And it just came out, I think, a month or two ago, sometime in the late spring. But it's wonderful. It's about these two kind of people who run bookstores. And I will say, I read this early, so I
Mhm.
may not get all the plot points right, but a man and a woman who are running like opposing bookstores, and they're kind of having like this competition about whose bookstore is going to survive. But it's got like a whole kind of you've got mail vibe, but it's just everything you could ever want in a romance, like in a romantic comedy, is there. It's wonderful. It's super sexy. It's great. I absolutely loved it. I devoured it in like 4 hours because I just
Oh, wow.
couldn't even walk away from it. I loved it. That would
Well,
be a
great.
top recommendation of ones I've read recently. I have a couple I'm looking forward to, but they haven't come
Yeah.
out yet. So, um,
No, that's great. Thank you. I always like to put in the author's recommended read into the show notes
oh,
to help
great. I
expand our
loved
readers'
it.
repertoire, so to speak. Yeah.
It is a wildly strong recommendation. I loved that book so much.
All right, wonderful. Well, besides reading, what is your favorite thing to do when you're not writing?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I love traveling is one thing that I really enjoy doing. I also really like watching K-dramas. Which there's a lot of writers who feel the same way. Um, and I like to paint too, but I wouldn't say I'm like particularly good at it. I like to go to paint your pot with my family.
Yeah.
Do
Those are
things like
fun.
that. So a little bit of arty stuff, I guess.
Great, great. Well, you talked a little bit about writer's block earlier, but
Mhm.
just when you get stuck, it doesn't have to be writer's block, but sometimes you'll
Um,
just find yourself staring at the screen for the last 5 minutes. What
yeah.
do you do? What's like kind of your, I guess, your go-to move that you do to get unstuck?
Yeah, I have 2. One is that often I'll go back to a point where I was feeling really good in the story and just read through it aloud, and then I find that when I get to that certain point where I was stuck, I can kinda just keep going. It, like, gets the momentum back or the
Yeah.
enthusiasm back. If things are really bad, and you've probably heard this before because it's definitely not my trick, but I will switch my font to Comic Sans or
Mm,
Sans.
yeah.
There's something about it that just gets me out of my head, like, it's like,
Interesting.
this is doesn't this doesn't matter, I'm just, like,
Uh,
having a good time, I guess.
yeah, yeah.
It's a really, like, weird font, and I find sometimes that can help me if I'm really stuck, or I'll just talk. Sometimes just need to externally process a little bit,
Yeah.
and it'll kind of
Yeah.
I don't know, but a lot of times, I'll just walk away, and then when I'm trying to fall asleep at night, I'll be like, "Oh, I've got it." Know exactly what to do.
Wake
As
yourself
I
back
don't have
up, write it
time
down. Yeah,
as
right.
soon as I don't have the
Yeah.
time to write, it will come to me. So, sometimes that works too.
No, that's great. I haven't tried switching the font. I've heard that before. I haven't tried that yet, but I might have to resort to that sometime. So I'll keep that in my back pocket for
Yeah,
sure.
it's a weird little trick, but it has helped me in the past, so I don't know.
All right, great, great, great. Well, before we go, can you give us a hint of what's coming up next?
Well, I am actually so I'm out of contract right now. So I'm working on a couple of different things. One is actually, I would say, is more along the lines of a cozy mystery romance. that involves a travel guide, hotel review writer. So it's got like a little bit of White Lotus sort of elements and
Ah,
fun
yeah.
exotic destinations and a little bit of murder mystery fun, kind of an Agatha Christie vibe that I'm working on. And then I have a couple other things planned, but I'm just looking to see, like what grabs me the most as far as what I'm most excited to write about.
Yeah, yeah, great. Sometimes that can be a little terrifying, but also sometimes it could be a fun. It's like a refresh, and like the sky's the
Yeah.
limit. You can
I'm
kind
kind
of
of
pick whatever you
excited
want.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I think it's one of those things where sometimes when you're writing and you're already on, maybe it's like the second book on a two-book contract and it's like you're sort of committed to something and then you
right.
really have to see it through. It's kind of fun to like write something for myself and then see, how it lands with people. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm excited
absolutely.
about it.
No, that's great. Well, I'll be excited to watch on social media, see what you come up with or see what you hint about at least.
Oh, thank you.
Uh, well, folks, when this episode airs, Heart Marks the Spot will be out. So be sure to order your copy today. You can check out Libby's website at libbyhubscher.com. Libby, what social media platform are you most active on?
I'm mostly on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it just at Libby Hubscher?
Mhm.
No. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Your handle. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Nice and simple. I like them when they're
Yeah.
nice and simple. Yeah. 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 All right. Well, Libby, thanks so much for joining me. I know readers are going to love the story as much as I did, and good luck with your future project here. We'll be looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you and I appreciate the invitation. So thanks a
Oh
lot.
yeah, anytime, anytime, you betcha. All right. Well, many thanks everyone. Or I'm sorry, many thanks to everyone listening. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Undercurrents of Romance. You can find more information about the show at tracydevlyn.com/podcast. Undercurrents of Romance is a proud member of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. I'll be back soon with another great romantic read. In the meantime, enjoy the adventure, everyone.